Everyone, welcome. December 9th, 2022, meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. Gotta make sure we are recording here, maybe, oh, presentation, maybe not. I'll share. Hey, I was gonna record and I hit record, said, please ask the host to give you permission to record.
Unfortunately, he's hosting over here.
Oh, he's hosting over there, okay. We're gonna leave light after now. So let's get going there. Okay. Chris Hadley, David Brandenburg, thank you all for being our greeters today. Eric Marcus, our ticket master and our IT specialist for the meeting. Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for the great programs, and Jim Gundel for the website. I want to turn it over to Mr. Denny Jarvie and ask everyone to shutter the side conversations for the invocation. Be very careful. Definitely assumption hazard.
Well, would you please join me in prayer? We're thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties and each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and maybe to assure you of your presence with us. Amen.
It's perfect. Mr. Joe Jenkins.
All right, so we have a 55% today. We have a couple of guests. We have Stephen and David, they're guests on the Mark West side.
I saw him, or I think I saw a guest, but they looks like they may have stepped out to maybe go get food. No other guest though? That is the.
Then there is Mr. Mayor Stone is here as well. That's the other guest. I will sign away.
The Mr. Mayor Bob Stone, he will be introducing our speaker today, is also here as a guest. So thank you for attending, Mr. Stone. Okay. Let's see. Don Adams.
Yeah.
You're up.
Yeah. Don't think he asked him.
No problem.
Today is December 9th, the 343rd day of the year. It's only 22 days left of this year. It's amazing how quickly this was gone by. It's also National Llama Day, so National Pastry Day, which is really a good day. It's Christmas card day, so if you haven't mailed your Christmas cards, you might want to get that done today. And it's Lost and Found Day. A couple of things that happened in history on this day. Adolf Hitler ordered U.S. ships to be torpedoed in 1941.
Oh, nice guy.
Yeah, he was. And General Electric in 1953 announced all communist employees will be fired. In 1958, the anti-communist John Birch Society was formed in Indianapolis. In 1962, the Bedrock Forest in Arizona was designated as a national park. In 1965, A Charlie Brown Christmas, the first animated TV featuring characters from Peanuts, premiered on CBS. And this was a big day. I do remember this one with Dow Jones in 1974 hit 570. Long ways from that right now.
Yes.
In 2000, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered a temporary halt to the Florida vote count in which Al Gore pinned his best hopes of winning the White House. Needs to say that didn't work out. I looked up in DAC TV if anybody's had birthdays or anniversaries in the club in the last week, and we do have none. And in today's news, Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema has left the Democratic Party and registered as an independent. She said she won't say whether she'll caucus with the Democrats or not. So that could be interesting as we go forward. Elon Musk is removing 1.5 billion users from Twitter in the coming weeks, as well as adding a new feature. He said he would add a feature that would allow Twitter users to see the number of people that read or interact with their tweets. The Transportation Security Administration has been testing facial recognition technology as an option for travelers in select U.S. airports. And now they're going to speed up the process and roll it out nationwide. So I'm really excited about that. And this is interesting. As Thanksgiving and Christmas season returns to something like normalcy, perhaps it's time for new traditions. The mad scientists at Luncheon Meat Packager Hormel have one new idea: Spam figgy pudding. For those of you who don't know what's in the classic Spam, it's pork, sugar, water, salt, potato starch, and sodium nitrate. The new seasonal Spam includes additional fig and orange flavors, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, ginger, and allspice. But as always, it will have an unlimited shelf life. There's often a World Cup that pits camels against each other in a Qatar beauty contest. The winning camel's owners earned 200,000 Qatari rials, or $55,000, for their annual victory at Qatar's Muzayyan Cup World Cup on Friday. Nazakma is a majestic, light-haired creature that overcame several preliminary rounds and hundreds of other camels to win the pageant. I thought our camel was better than Ronaldo and Messi, joked the family in the house. And she also tested negative for Botox. In a New England city, there's a bunch of wild turkeys that are menacing the people. They don't let you out of your house, one of the residents of Woodburn, Massachusetts, told The Guardian. A flock of feathered hooligans has been intimidating residents, and their leader is one especially tough turkey called Kevin. The five group spent a lot of time, in particular, on a lawn of a woman named Megan Tolson, according to the new report. Tolson gave the name Kevin to the turkey and characterized him as a bad egg among the otherwise all-female turkey crew. And the FDA warns against using NyQuil as a chicken marinade. The agency notes that the idea of cooking chicken in cough syrup is not only silly and unappetizing, but potentially dangerous. I have a few interesting facts about the Earth. Planet Earth has had life on it for more than 80% of its lifetime. And the planet has enough Lego in it for each person to get 86 pieces. There's only one person left on this planet who was born in the 1800s. At the planet's core, there is enough gold to cover the surface of the Earth 1 to 2 feet. Maybe we should start digging. Earth has around 3 trillion trees. And I couldn't support this, and it says all but 3 human beings having died on the Earth or in its atmosphere. There's only 3 that have not died in Earth. And Earth only ranks as the 5th most habitable planet on our list of exoplanets. So we might have to consider there might be another place for us to live one day if we want to. In fact, there's more than 2 billion Earth-like planets in our solar system. And Earth is the only planet that has tectonic plates. That was interesting. John Rook Tense. His friend asked him the reason for his worry, and John said he'd received a letter from somebody threatening dire consequences if he did not stop flirting with his wife. The friend said, then what's the problem? Just stop flirting with his wife. John replies, I would, but the letter is anonymous, so I don't know who the wife is. When I did for a long time, the best food I did find was at truck stops. And you wonder what a waitress would have to say if someone actually ordered their breakfast like this guy did. A trucker came into the truck stop cafe and placed his order. He said, I want 3 flat tires, a pair of headlights, and a pair of running boards. The brand new blonde waitress, not wanting to appear stupid, went to the kitchen and said to the cook, this guy out there just ordered three flat tires, a pair of headlights, and a pair of running boards. What does he think this place is? An auto parts store? No, the cook replied, 3 flat tires mean three pancakes. A pair of headlights, 2 eggs, sunny side up, and a pair of running boards are 2 slices of crisp bacon. Oh, okay, said the blonde. She thought about it for a minute and then spooned up a bowl of beans and gave it to the customer. The trucker asked, what are these beans for, Blondie? She replied, I thought while you were waiting for flat tires, headlights, and running boards, you might want to gas up. There was a young man who wants to see the world. He signs on to be a steamship, be trained as a steamship, on a steamship as a helmsman, He masters the classroom instructions, then starts his practical training on the wheel of the vessel. In his first lesson, the mate gives him a heading, and the young man holds to it. Then the mate orders, come starboard. Pleased at knowing immediately which way starboard is, the young man leaves the helm and walks over to his instructor. The mate has an incredulous look on his face, and the helm swings freely. Then rather gently, considering the circumstances, he asks politely, could you please bring the ship with you? This is from my Army friends. Since Bob's here, I wanted to share this one. By the time Sullivan pulled into a little town, every hotel room was taken. You've got to have a room somewhere, he pleaded with the proprietor. Well, I do have a double room with 1 occupant, but he's an Air Force guy. And he might be glad to split the cost with you, but to tell you the truth, he snores so loudly that people in the adjoining rooms have complained in the past, and I'm not sure it'd be worth it to you. No problem, the tired Army guy said. I'll take it. The next morning, the soldier came down to breakfast, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. How'd you sleep? Asked the manager. Never better, said the soldier. The manager was impressed. No problems with the guy snoring all night? No, I shut him up in no time. How did you manage that? Well, he was already in bed snoring away when I walked into the room, so I gave him a kiss on the cheek, and then I whispered in his ear, good night, beautiful, and he sat up watching me all night long. There was another couple sleeping in bed when there was a knocking at the door. The husband rolls over and looks at the clock, and it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm not getting out of bed at this time, he said. Then a louder knock follows, so he drags himself out of bed, goes downstairs, opens the door, and there's a man standing there. And it didn't take the homeowner long to realize the man was drunk. Hi there, slurs the stranger. Can you give me a push? No, get lost. It's 3:30 and I was in bed, says the man. He goes back to bed and tells his wife what happened. And she says, that wasn't very nice of you. Remember that night we broke down in the pouring rain and on the way to pick up the kids from the babysitter, you had to knock on the man's door to get us started again? What would you have done if he had told you that? But the guy was drunk. It doesn't matter, says the wife. He needs our help, and it would be the good Christian thing to do to help him out. So the husband gets up, out of bed, gets dressed, and goes downstairs. He opens the door, and not being able to see the stranger, he yells out, hey, you still need a push? Yes, please. So still unable to see the stranger, he says, where are you? Over here in the swing. As always, I'd like to leave with a couple of positive thoughts. A problem is a chance for you to do your best. And what you do makes a difference. You have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Today's clients, if you've not sent out your Christmas cards yet, that's $1. If you have ever watched Charlie Brown Christmas, that's $1. If you've ever been chased by a turkey, that's $1. If you have built something with Legos, that's $1. If you came in late today, that's $2. And if you're not wearing your pin, rotary pin, that is $1. Brandon, back to you.
Okay, happy boss. Oh, man, it's 2 weeks in a row. There we go, Rick.
That one, our guest Bob Snow. About 3 weeks still, Bob? Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. He was inducted into the Veterans Hall of Fame for Ohio. A very, very exclusive group. We're very proud of you, Bob. And just to expand on that, this is about what you do after you hang up your uniform, not what you do in a uniform. It's about service after. And Ohio picks 20 people, 20 veterans from throughout the entire state every year. That's how selective it is. And they have well over 100 people apply every year. So we're very proud of Bob. And at the ceremony, had about 30 people from, I think Pete was there. Where's Pete? Oh, here, okay. About 30 people from the city were there to cheer him on. So congratulations, Bob.
Anyone else? No, when I logged into one of my classes today and I found out my final is due tonight. Not Sunday night, and I'm excited about that because, well, today will suck. I am done with my class come tonight, so I'll be 11 of 13 classes done with my MPA. I finish in the spring, so we're getting there. So very excited about that. Anyone else? Sir.
I'll give a happy buck for all the helpers that come in before our meeting and help get everything set up so that it's not a cluster like it is sometimes.
Are you like thinking yourself there?
No, I'm thinking Dad and whatever. Jim helps sometimes, he won't sell it. So there's a bunch of people come in and help set stuff up.
No, I seriously appreciate that. It's very nice to be able to just come in and lead the meeting. So thank you all to everyone who makes that happen. Hopefully we have to take drawing here. See, we've got 3, 1, 1, 5, 5.
For me, we bought the whole row. Yeah, I know.
Maybe. Rose. Okay, does anyone have any announcements for the club? Anyone? I have a few, I think, well, the slides down,
When is the gift wrap thing again?
thank you. The thing, 13th, Tuesday, the 13th at 9 AM at Firehouse 61 over on Dayton Xenia. And then next, so not this Saturday, so the next Saturday, the 16th at 08:30 at Dots Market. This 17th.
So if you can get there about 8:15 or so.
8:15 if you're motivated, 8:30 if you're not motivated. Be motivated from that seat. So that's at Dots Market, December 17th. That is the Christmas basket distribution. And lastly, we have a board meeting next Friday after the club meeting. So, and also thank you to everyone who came out. We had a good talk on Monday morning at Dunkin' Donuts. So thank you all. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Bob Stone.
Before I start this evening, for those that may not remember, the gentleman that sort of halfway embarrassed me a minute ago, I joined him in the Hall of Fame, so he's already there. So appreciate it very much. You know, it's my pleasure to introduce the speaker today, and I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. In his past life, Dr. North held a position at Northrop Northrop Grumman, that's easy for somebody to say, Aerospace Systems, where he held the position of, and this is the longest title I think I've ever heard, Hot Trailing Edge Integrated Product Team Leader. Now, I don't know if he's going to tell us today what that is, but there's some other things here he's going to have to explain. In this role, he led a diverse team of engineers focused on solving difficult aerospace challenges for the B-52 bomber and other platforms. He currently serves as the president and CEO of Resonant Sciences, which he, along with several of his colleagues, founded in 2015. I was fortunate enough to meet up with Micah in 2016, as he was very proud to show off his new facility and his new company. And it was if you ever get the chance, it is certainly worth the time to go over and have them explain a little bit about what they do. And most of it is way up here over my head. Some of the things that the company specializes in is antennas and radomes, modeling and measurements, integrated electronics, aerospace manufacturing, and then there's something called EO/IR. I have no idea what that is. But once again, I think Michael will be very happy to explain to us what he does. Michael lives in Bellbrook with his wife Nadia, his daughter Sophie, and his son Jackson. Did I get that right, Michael? Yep. Very good. He is active with his church and multiple charitable organizations such as the Dayton Victory Project. He also holds the title of Kentucky Colonel in the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels. Congratulations. I first met Mike in 2016, as I said a minute ago, and he was very proud at that time, and he's even more proud of his company today. But that goes both ways, Micah. I'm very proud of your company and how it's grown, but I'm proud of getting to know you over the last 5 or 6 years as well. It's been a real pleasure. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Dr. J. Micah North.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Give me just a second. I'll move these things around here a bit. And that's not good, is it? So I think I need to hit this stop share on this one. Great. Yeah, there we go. Well, thanks. Do I need the microphone, or can you guys hear me with that? I do. Okay, I'll keep it. All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys inviting me out. I have a great opportunity, and I appreciate the chance to come in and always talk to folks about different things we're doing. We've had a lot of great growth in the state, particularly Beavercreek, and the state of Ohio has been really fantastic to us and helped us as we've grown along and been a great supporter of everything that we've done with the company. And so what I wanted to do today is just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what we do. We keep a pretty low profile. We don't generally advertise out a lot. So some people, drive by and what do those guys do and what are we into? And we're doing more and more kind of outreach and things along that nature. But we started the company, myself and a few buddies, about in 2015 with 6 of us. We're about 140 folks now, and continuing to have great growth. We've had a lot of really cool opportunities and doing some things that on the defense side and on the commercial side that some of you guys may recognize out there. And I'll tell you a little bit more as we get into it. But just kind of jump into what we do. I threw out, there was a couple things that Mayor Stone mentioned about what we do. And really, we work in 3 main areas. And I'm not going to get too technical and stuff for you guys, but give you just a little bit of a smattering of what we do. And that's
Check the HDMI cord.
all right. Let's see here. Still there. Okay. But we work in three main areas, which are integrated electronics, modeling and measurements, and advanced apertures. And I'll tell you a little bit about each of those as we go forward. But one of the things I thought I'd do is kind of show you a little bit about where our footprint is in Dayton and where we're growing and kind of the different areas that we're in, and what we're trying to do for the warfighter. So from an operating standpoint, we of course have our headquarters here in Dayton. Since that time, since in the past few years, we've actually had the opportunity to open a few other offices in areas around the country. We've opened an office first up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We had a bunch of folks up there that wanted to join us that left several different companies in the what we call synthetic aperture radar world. So where we make us images and things of that nature. So a lot of signal processing, and that emphasis is more of a office, pure office, not manufacturing or anything like that in that area. I'm gonna back away from this, I won't get so much feedback on that. That group's starting to grow, and it's in Ann Arbor, and a lot of people unhappy about that, but we have both kinds here at the company. So, then we last February we bought a company in Lovettsville, Virginia, Quarter Branch Technologies, and Quarter Branch is a manufacturer of radars, and so our radar now is the most prolific radar in the country right now. So this radar is out at all the major ranges around the country, and at Lockheed, Northrop, Boeing, Ball, General Electric, Pratt and Whitney, kind of everywhere in the country right now. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. And then we bought another company in Arlington, Virginia, called CompuQuest. And those guys are more signal processing guys, and they were kind of some of the early pioneers of radar signal processing and antenna signal processing. And so we've kind of got the DC office, and we've got the little bit outside of DC office. Lovettsville is about a stone's throw from West Virginia, but it's the northernmost town in Loudoun County, if you're familiar with the DC area out there. And then most recently, and this will actually happen in January, is we have an office out in Broomfield, Colorado. So kind of in the Boulder, Broomfield, Louisville area out there. And that's really where a lot of the antenna work is going on right now in the company. And so we're in the process of setting that facility up. Again, we've been really fortunate, blessed in that we have people call us all the time to want to join the company. And they'll call and just say, "Hey, I'm leaving. This is, guys are 25-year employees out in Ball." Okay, what are you going to do? Well, I want to come work for you. We want to come work at Resonant and build an office. Okay, sounds good. Let's do it. So that's kind of the way things have gone. We've been able to attract really top talent across the country. One of the things that we were able to announce last week, which was really, really exciting. Actually, we announced it on the day of the B-21. So I assume some of you watched the B-21 roll out. So it was a great thing for our country, and a really cool program. But that program was run out of the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office. And so that and a bunch of other platforms and a lot of things going on. And the guy who headed up the RCO was Mr. Randy Walden. And Mr. Walden's world renowned for what he did in running the Rapid Capabilities Office and B-21, et cetera. And really, I would say probably the person most responsible for the modernization of the air platforms in the Air Force right now. And anyway, he just joined Resonant, so that was a nice coup, because he could have gone to anywhere in the world. And I had dinner with him, and I said, I'd love to get you to help. And he goes, well, I actually already wrote you on my list of one of the companies I want to join. So we were pretty fortunate to have that. That was kind of shake up from everyone thought he'd go to a Lockheed or a Northrop or something like that, and for him to join us has been really cool thing. So anyway, that's kind of what we're doing on the operating front there of the different groups. And then we have folks kind of scattered around the country that don't have offices per se, but are out there. So to talk a little bit about the Dayton facilities and what we have here, So this is our main building. If I can see the mouse. Right here, and this is on the corner of Research and Grange Hall. And in that building is where we have our electronics and our a lot of our administration portions of the company. And then we have a 60-foot anechoic chamber in there as well, where we do a lot of antenna testing and radar characterization. The building in the top left corner is right next door to us, and we have about half of that building now. And that's where our electro-optics and infrared work is occurring. And so we just took that over here recently. So we're continuing to expand that. And then the building in the lower left-hand corner is actually, for the ease of view here, is this building here. Without it, doesn't show the addition that we put onto it. That's from Google Earth. It's just, I don't know what happened here.
I think the HDMI towards me.
It's on all the
Must be classified.
hand puppets here. Okay, let me. Does it come back? Nope. Yeah, it's a shorten this cable.
Hold your mouth just right. And then try.
Technology.
Lost it all now. You said waits till I'm doing my, that's all. Well, anyway, I'll just go ahead and talk. So, oh, okay, great. So yeah, I just stand right in the center. You moved, so okay. It doesn't. Like, it's got short in the cable.
It's got a short.
Yeah. So, sure, I'll hold it. I think probably hold it. I got it. Maybe it's okay now. Okay, I'm back way away this time. So the building there on the lower left is on Executive Drive there. And that's really where we do a lot more of our manufacturing work. So we've got clean rooms, autoclaves, so a lot of composite structures and a lot of composite work goes on in there, and a lot of our robotics manufacturing. So, and I'll show you a little bit more about that as we go forward. And then the lower right-hand corner is our newest addition, which we are not moved into yet, but are anxious to get going in there. And it's the old Vineyard Church off of Indian Ripple there. So about a 50,000 square foot building there that we're looking to be able to have our mostly all of our robotics manufacturing and assembly stuff will go over there. So I'm pretty excited to have that facility up and going soon. We'll probably be in the market for another building here real soon if things go well in the next week for some other programs we've got coming. We're out of space again. This is a pretty neat thing that's going into the Executive Drive building, which is this will probably be one of 3 mills like this in the country. It's about a 20 foot tall mill, vertical CNC for machining nose radomes, and we'll show you a little bit more about that. So some great opportunities to move heavy into the nose radome manufacturing. There's really only one nose radome supplier in the United States, and that's Marion, Virginia. General Dynamics in Marion, Virginia, and we're giving them a run for their money of taking all their people and moved into Ohio. So I'm not real popular down there. So there's a lot of people don't like me. I'm glad I have friends here. So we're just aggressive. So anyway, that'll be really cool, great opportunity. And the goal is, I want to bring manufacturing and everything for aerospace back to the Dayton region with the ultimate goal of we're not going to build airplanes, but as long as if we start to put the right people and the right suppliers and the right subsystem folks in the Dayton area, there's no reason in the world that we shouldn't be building aircraft in Southern Ohio. I mean, there's just no reason that they should be built in Southern California and not here where the Wright brothers started it. So that's really a big push that I'm doing with all of our partners, is to start looking at facilities here in the Dayton area. We have the supply base, we have the materials, we have all those sorts of things, and try to bring that back here to this area. So that's one of my goals. So from a manufacturing standpoint, we're AS 9100, ISO 9001. This is just some pictures of the autoclaves and some of the robotic machining cells and things like that we've set up over there. I'll jump into the meat of this a little bit, and just so everybody knows what a radome is. Radome is like the nose cone of the aircraft, or it's the covering that goes on the outside of the radar or the antenna there. And they're highly engineered structures on aircraft, because you want to be able to pass the RF energy through them and receive back if you're with a radar system. And so we're very fortunate in that we have the chief designers of F-15, 16, 18, 22, 35, B2, and B-52 nose radomes, all at Resonant Sciences, which is probably the most experienced team in the world, definitely the country. What's kind of interesting is, for the Ohio State fans out here, is all of those guys did their graduate work for one professor at Ohio State, Ben Monk. So you think about one person who really changed the face of aerospace, who really doesn't get a lot of credit for it. Ben passed away a few years ago, but he was really one who's really shaped what's going on in aerospace. So pretty much every AESA fire control radar in the country sits behind a radome that was designed by somebody at Resonant. In addition to that, our guys have a lot of apertures on F-22, F-35, B-2, other platforms, things like that. And we've done things like Predator C, combatant craft medium, that's the Navy SEALs boat, a lot of antennas on those structures there, CV-22, some of the in-flight entertainment stuff. And I'll just kind of flip through and show some examples of these. These are some conformal antennas that we've done that are a little bit more platform agnostic, where these are going, but high power antennas for EW, electronic warfare applications, things like that. This is a large structure that we're doing for a DC-9, so we're building all the parts in blue. So if you think about how big a DC-9 aircraft is, I didn't appreciate it until I started looking at the parts we were going to be building, and they're big. And so we're doing all those. So we've got our FAA certification as well now. This is just another pod radome that we did. We're very good on building very quick, rapid structures there. So this is flying in a few different places now. These are the comms on the move, back to the Army guys here. This was, we built 125 of these units that are out on MRAPs for all the SATCOM systems. So it's a ballistic radome, so it can take a few rounds before it damages the system there. One thing a lot of people don't know, we don't talk a lot about, because we're mostly very defense focused, but we probably designed 80% of the in-flight entertainment radomes for like your go-go and your commercial when you get on the internet on the airplane. And that's between two guys in the company, Kurt Strickler and Jonathan Pryor. Kurt actually kind of interesting. He was the chief engineer down at GD Marion that we stole away, but he lived in Mansfield, Ohio, and drove down to Virginia for every other week for 20 years. And we hired him away and got him to come back up here. But he designed F-15, F-16, F-18, and F-35 nose radomes and go-go. So I was thinking that's kind of a neat thing there. He designed Boeing's tri-band. One of our guys designed go-go's. And then moving into the modeling and measurements, we got a lot of growth here. We're really good on doing RF characterization of systems. And I'll show you what we're doing here. It's kind of a cool opportunity, cool things happening in the country. First, I'll show, this is the radar that we build in Virginia. We're actually looking at moving this to Ohio, this production. And so we sell these as fast as we can build them. Used to go about 4 to 5 radars a year. Typically these radars will go for a couple $1,000,000, and we used to sell 4 to 5 a year. I think this year we're doing 22 of them. And so it's just incredible the amount of demand right now for radars. And in addition to the radars, we put those radars into this robotic system that we built. And this is called the Resident Adaptable Zonal Radar. It's pretty revolutionary for the industry. And so what this does is measures the radar cross section. So it measures what do we look like to a threat radar or threat system out there. And everything we do here is done here at Resonant. The only thing that we buy is the arm, and we buy the arm from Yaskawa Moto Man, so right down the road in Springboro there, and they've been a great partner. But we do all the processing, everything like that with this system. And so I've got a couple photos that are kind of cool for public release with this. But first off, I'll show you. This is how it looks when it moves. So it's got some kind of cool wheels on this. And so what they'll do is they'll get right up next to an aircraft or near an aircraft, and then use this to measure the signature of the aircraft. And so that array can position within a few millimeters of where it was previously. And we know that because it has integrated LiDAR systems into it. It's got a 2 to 18 gigahertz array, so it's about a 96 element antenna on the front of that thing, not a snowplow. Then we have a radar up on the side, and then all the ability to process this. So everybody loves this because what people used to do on platforms like B2 would take about 5.5 hours to set up for a shot. You get about 2 to 3 inches of repeatability. The processing took hours, days at a time to do this. We set up in about 10 minutes, and so as opposed to 5.5 hours. Our repeatability is sub-millimeter repeatability, and we're kicking out images in about less than a minute every time we take a shot with this. And so that's just kind of a cool picture that we were able to get released. So F-35 has now adopted these. So these systems are going to not only everywhere F-35s live in the country, but also to Italy and to Japan for the JSFs that are going to be over there at U.S. facilities. And then we also got this one released for B2. So we're also selling them for B2s, and then we've got a slew of other people behind it. So we're cranking out right now about 20 to 25 a year of these systems, and they expect that can go up to 40 to 50 systems a year for a while. So and
What is that thing doing? Can you explain? What is that?
Yeah. So what this is basically doing, so if you look at, okay, let's say you're flying along and you've got an enemy radar, right? And he shoots, RF energy up at you, and then that bounces off of your aircraft and goes back to that radar. So that's what we would call the radar return, right? And what that return is defined by is what the radar cross section of your vehicle is, okay? And so what this does is basically emulates a foreign threat radar system so that we know what we look like to their systems. And so we'll spend a lot of time as we do sustainment and maintainability of these aircraft. I mean, these things are hangar queens. So every, it's like for a B2, it's somewhere around every flight hour is 200 maintenance man hours on a B2 to restore the signature and get the signature in line. And so every time they make a repair or they have issues on the aircraft, they want to go back and assure that the signature is what they thought it was going to be before they do the mission. So we used to go out before, when there would be a mission to measure the aircraft before they would go to a war scenario. So that's what it's for, is to maintain the signature. And that happens on a daily basis. So measurements, every F-35 right now that comes off the production line goes out of the paint hangar into the chamber. It's measured with a razor before the government buys them now. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, you guys just jump in with any questions. I tend to talk. Yeah, yes, sir. Pardon?
Sounds like you got one of those on that plant 40.
Oh, we got a few. That's where I came from. I started at Skunk Works out there. It was at Plant 42, and then on the other side of the runway at Northrop, working this guy. So yeah, we've got them all over the country now, and which is another thing for us to try to keep track of where we have hardware now, and support that. So moving on, we do a lot of test fixtures and composite structures and things like that as well to evaluate materials and shapes and that sort of stuff. And then we care a lot about material measurements, and I won't bore you guys with all this, but we care a lot about what the material properties are from an RF and electro-optical sense before they ever go onto a platform. So as we're making components, radomes, materials, we care about characterizing those. So these are systems that we have kind of all over the country for characterizing materials. We've kind of been one of the leading suppliers of measurement systems around the country right now. These are radome verification systems. So obviously we're in the radome business, so we sell a lot of radome verification systems. And the middle one there is a brand new system that we call the Razor, and the Tracer. And the Tracer measures all the RF performance of the radome, and why that's important right now. So okay, well, I get it. You're selling a radome, that's important. But what happens in theater? So let's say you're an F-15 guy, and you think there's an issue on your nose radome. Right now, your options are you remove that nose radome. You're in Germany, whatever, wherever you are, and you send that to Marion, Virginia, and it sits for about 150 to 180 days before they can get on their outdoor chamber or their outdoor range. And they measure that, and then they decide what they're going to do with it. With this, it's a palletized system, so it can sit right at the with the unit and make the measurement right there at the aircraft and decide whether the radome needs to be repaired or restored or sent back to Virginia, or it could be a field repair or whatever. So it's pretty revolutionary from a mission capability standpoint and being able to keep aircraft in the air. So this is just some of the stuff we're doing on the EOIR front, electro-optical infrared. We do all sorts of tracking, threat detection, understanding signatures. One of the things that we did that was kind of cool, you guys may have seen in the news at least, is SOCOM did awarded a armed Overwatch aircraft not too long ago, and we did all the paint scheme for that. So picking out what the paint and the coatings and stuff like that should look like. And then moving into our final business area, which are integrated electronics and spectrum capabilities, doing a lot of pretty neat things here in the areas of simultaneous transmit and receive, which is basically the way your cell phone operates is you have an uplink on one frequency and then you have a downlink on a different frequency. And we're actually able to put the uplink and the downlink all on the exact same frequency. And to give you an idea of what the value of something like that is on the commercial side of the house is, one of our guys was the former CTO of the FCC, Dr. Doug Sicker, under President Obama, and also under President Clinton, and also a CTO of the NTIA. And he led one of the more recent FCC auctions, and 50 megahertz of bandwidth for $49.9 billion. And so you start looking at what you can do if you can double the efficiency in that bandwidth, and is that worth? I'm like, oh, it's probably worth at least $1 billion, right? So, but we've been very careful in that we try to keep ourselves on the DoD side, because I think there are some serious issues that the country can face in the spectrum world, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem for the country. And if you've watched anything that's going on in Ukraine, you can see that from an electronic warfare perspective, how important that stuff is, and understanding, being able to protect that. So one of the things that we did, again, back to for the Army folks here, there's a system called a Duke, which was a counter IED system that was used pretty extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan and places like that. And what it would do is it would jam all the IEDs that it provides explosive devices. And the problem is when you're jamming, you can't use your own comms, so you can't talk. And the enemy knew that. So I'm not saying anything that this is not out in the public knowledge, but what would happen is guys would get ambushed and they knew that you couldn't call for backup because you couldn't use your comms. And then there was another dude who was sitting there doing this on the IED button. So as soon as you turned off the IED jammer, he would blow you up as soon as you tried to call for help. So the way the guys were left to deal with this was to fight their way out of it. And that's just a story over and over and over and over and over again. If you talk to anybody who's deployed in the past 10 years, 15 years, I mean, almost everybody I know has had that happen to them. So much so even would jam out the helicopters and things like that were overhead. And what we did is we gave them the full ability to use their comms while they jam. And so we enabled them to use their comms in a completely jammed environment. And so what we're really pushing and doing, and we're getting a lot of traction on this right now, is that I used to talk about how in the Civil War, we didn't want to fight at night because it was dark, right? Then we got flashlights and light sources and things like that. And well, the problem with flashlights, right, is it'll get you killed. And so you have to have some light discipline. So well, don't shine here, but shine there, but don't shine there, and shine here, don't shine over there, right? You gotta be very, very careful with that. And then we got night vision and we said, well, screw this. We only want to fight at night. And we went from, we don't want to fight at night to now we only want to fight at night. Right. And so that's where we are from a visual standpoint. Well, the same sort of things going on in the EM spectrum, in the electromagnetic world. And we don't want to fight in a jammed environment. We did not want to fight in a jammed environment. We did not want to deal with anything that's jamming. We want to avoid that with everything we can. But the realities of the world are that you're fighting in a jammed environment and we're jamming. And a lot of times that jamming is blue force jamming. So we're jamming ourselves. And so we spend a lot of time as DoD policy and different groups to make sure that we're not jamming ourselves. And that's an inherently difficult thing to do. If you look at some of the outside the DoD, if you look at some of the self-driving cars, the number one reason that most of those systems crash has been co-site interference. And it's been interference from Bluetooth radios. I mean, all the things you have in your car that interfere with that. And so what we're doing is developing technology, and I think we've been successful at this, where I go, no, you want to fight in a jammed environment. We want to jam everyone, and then we want to operate with impunity underneath that. And that's where we're heading to with these types of technologies. And so this is just one example of that. This was Compass Call Platform. Same sort of thing here. They couldn't use some of their receivers while they were jamming. So they would have to jam and then they'd turn off the jam and then they would look with their receivers and then they would jam again and they'd turn it off. And we gave them the ability to never have to turn off the jammer. So, and then this is kind of a new, really cool thing. This is kind of the 21st century solution to GPS jamming. And it's called Boise. Purely because I was in Boise when the contract came in. It really was. People ask me like, why is it Boise? What does that stand for? I'm like, I was in Boise. We'll just call it that. And so that's what happened. And but this is a really cool system in that it's not bound by the number of jammers, and we've yet to be jammed with this. We've had multiple flight tests on this system, and we've flown against all the legacy platforms, and they've not been able to jam us with this. So pretty cool system that we're doing there. And then this is another little box that we make that we call Polestar, and Polestar actually uses not just GPS, but uses GLONASS, Baidu, Galileo, all the different satellite systems that are out there in the spectrum, and uses those for positional information, and as opposed to just GPS. And then we made it where we could integrate it with the autopilot systems on aircraft. And so we're flying in situ platforms, we're flying Textron platforms, we're flying a bunch of different systems with these. So it's been another nice little production job for us. We've got about 400 of these out in the field now, and continuing to crank these systems out. We can't build these fast enough. Right now they're going on ships, on aircraft, on towers, and on people coming up soon to be able to wear this on their shoulder. So that's a kind of short little overview of the different things we've got going. Like I said, lots of different technologies happening in the area. We're continually growing and continually hiring lots of people and trying to bring in great folks. And so if you guys know great folks, send them our way. We're hiring for pretty much everything. People are good. People are hard to find right now. It's a tough market from a even in the defense industry. And I think that we're very blessed in that we are in one of the situations where while other companies are laying folks off, we're trying to hire as fast as we can and pull in as many folks as we can to do these sorts of jobs. So appreciate you guys' time. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer anything you guys might have. Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Assume when you start as just a small group of cohorts that have the same interest and different skills, you're doing more hands-on and then you're now, how did that transition happen and how much of that do you get to do now?
Myself, I don't get to do a lot. I get to go in and opine on things. But my PhD is in chemistry, so I'm a physical chemist, but I hung out with double E's my whole career. When we started off, we had some just great hardcore designers and great folks. There were 6 of us, and we realized right off the bat that, hey, you guys got to go execute on work that we're bringing in. I've got to go find more. And so my role, the only reason I became the president is they said, well, you like to run your mouth. So the rest of the engineers are like this, they walk around like that. So I became the president because I don't stare at my shoes. Really, it's the truth. But yeah, it was kind of out of necessity that I just, and so I kind of, so I know enough to ask the right questions and I can't design a radome, but I know what right looks like. And I can't design the electronics, but I know what it should look like and I know what it should be doing. And so that's kind of been my role in that. And, and we've just had great people. We've hired, we really have like national leaders around the country. We had the former chief engineer of Skunk Works works for us, former head of the Rapid Prototyping Center out at Skunk Works. The former one of our guys he was my boss, so it was kind of cool. We got to hire him. He was the signature lead for the 117 and the signature lead for the B2 and the flight test lead for the B21. And so like, man, how do you get a resume like that? And so I've been able to delegate a lot. And so I trust the people. And so we're different from a lot of companies. We don't have a lot of rules. We don't have a lot of strict policies. We kind of just bring in great people and let them do their thing. And I kind of go, oh, don't let it go off the road there. Don't let that happen. So that's kind of how I manage it. Maybe they'll bite me someday. I don't know.
Did you do much work with the local universities, engineers?
Trying to do more. We don't do as much work with them just because of the nature of the things that we end up. We have to be very careful on foreign nationals. We also have classification issues and things like that. We love to hire them, and we're trying to develop stronger pipelines into UD, Wright State, Ohio State, and UC. We've had a lot of co-ops, a lot of interns, and most of those folks we've ended up hiring. So it's been good. Yes, sir.
I assume you're still privately held,
Yes, sir.
so do you plan to go public?
No, probably not anytime soon. I don't think that we've been able to do the things that we do, I knew what the long play was on things, and I said, hey, we're going to keep doing this because it's the right thing to do. And if I had somebody screaming for profit behind me, probably some of these things would have never happened. So that's just, not that there's not advantages, but we bootstrapped everything. We never took any money from anyone, and hit our 401ks when we started the company and just rolled with it. So that's our plan. We get people coming after us all the time, and we just tell them thanks, but no thanks. So, yes, sir.
I just want to add one little thing, and that is that when I first met Mike and his cohorts in 16, I thought I'd gone back to the 60s. These guys had beards, they were dressed like business people. And it was just, I said, they brought them from California.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah.
It It was just a breath of fresh air, so.
Yeah, we're a little different. It's a little rowdy sometimes. It's good to have good friends keep us out of trouble. Well, thank you guys very much. Right now, I really do.
Mayor, I hear great things about people with beards, the best mayor. Yeah.
A little bit more my time. Okay, as mentioned earlier to our speaker, we are going to be donating a book to the library on his behalf. He has already signed it. Beth, great job as always here. The book is called Rebel Science. So thank you to Beth for providing that, and thank you for signing that. We'll get that to the Beavercreek Library. I do really quickly want to go over, I did send an email. I would encourage you all check your email if you haven't seen it. It just in writing mentioned the 3 motions that were passed at the last meeting at the club assembly. And it presented the slate that we will be voting on January 6th. I'm going to read that, and then I have to open it to the floor to see if anyone wants to nominate from the floor. So the president-elect will be Don Adams. Secretary will be Joe Jenkins. We have 3 director positions up for 2-year terms. Those will be Pratap Sivan, Sandy Brubaker, and David Brandenburg. And then we have 2 director positions that are being filled for only the second half of their 2-year position. That is Chris Hadley and Beth Handworker. So is there anyone else who would like to nominate at this time from the floor?
Motion to close the nominations.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that, we vote on January 6th, for that slate. So, because we have to give 2 full weeks, notice. So, next week's greeters, Mark Weinstein, Jonathan Hebrink. Next week's speakers, Dale Brunner, the president of the Greater Dayton YMCA. Again, on the 13th at 9 a.m., Firehouse 61 for Christmas basket assembly, if you will. And then a reminder that I'll remind again next week, December 17th at 08:15 at Docs Market for Christmas basket distribution. I think that's all I got. Anything else for the good club? Yes, sir.
Quick, an update on Ed Phillips, if you don't know, he left the hospital yesterday, he's home now, he was great. So things are getting better.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anything else? Okay, with that, our speaker, local Mayor Stone, will you lead us in the pledge here?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so much for a wonderful weekend here. Well, that was lovely. There. Stephen Brown, good to see you.